Usually, before I go shaking my tits for the press, I like to go see how the professionals do it. Some might say the chief of police has no business in an institution like this, but in fact it's the quietest and safest place in town. You won't run into any reporters, nobody gets into any fights, nobody drinks too much, nobody even raises their voice. The place is owned by an elderly gentleman who knows how to keep things under control. That's why I never invite my friends here. I wanted to make an exception for my 60th birthday, but most of my colleagues are young enough to be my sons, and they'd rather just hire prostitutes. Why stare at some boobs when you can take the whole package for yourself? But there's none of that in our club. Even looking too long is considered indecent. You can get an occasional glimpse, like by accident. The rest of the time you just pretend that you're immersed in conversation, or just come by for a drink. Doesn't mean these gentlemen wouldn't want their bald heads smothered in tits. It's just that nobody says it out loud. My younger colleagues might call it hypocrisy, but I call it the good old-fashioned manners. Good manners and leave the rest unsaid. She agrees to unbutton her blouse, and we agree not to pay too much attention. The girls are on a quiet prowl, too. They're looking for a way out of their cramped rooms. Maybe make friends with some wealthy patron with a pacemaker and dentures. Everybody wants something. But we have to control ourselves, or we'll all turn into libertines and prostitutes. Hell, if there weren't any rules, I'd be belching and farting, jumping up on the table, arms held high, yelling, "Shake it, baby!" No idea how I got so barbaric. When I was a kid, my father sometimes told me at bedtime that if I closed my eyes and didn't open them for a long time, all the demons would blow away. Yesterday I turned 60, but I still take his advice. Not because I'm sentimental or want to keep the memory of my father alive. I just can't think of a better solution. To get away from all the demons that haunt Freeburg, I'd need to wear a blindfold 24/7. Plus, it's a good idea to act blind when talking to reporters. At least that's what my colleagues say. They're afraid of press conferences. But for me, it's more like a confessional. No matter what lies you tell, you're privately thinking the honest answers. It helps me remember who I am. The fact that I'll be reading all about it in the papers tomorrow is a small price to pay. Call it penance for the preacher. This is the first time I'm afraid of those answers my mind has given me. Not because I'm mad I'm losing my job. Though it's true, I'm mad as hell. Not because I subconsciously blame everyone else. Though I damn sure do blame them. And don't even ask me what my next move is. I can't imagine. But even that doesn't scare me. The worst thing is, I know I'm going to have to do something. And I'll be damned if I know how far I'll go. I may have a lot of vices, but predictability isn't one of them. I learned a long time ago how to drive away the swarming demons. But what do you do when they're trying to rip your soul from your skin? Shutting my eyes tight as I can. The best solution remains the same: play blind. I just hope the reporters think I was blinded by the camera flash.
How's the back today, Mr. Boyd?
Same as usual.
How did the press conference go?
You can read about it in the newspapers tomorrow. Don't let anyone in.
Even Mr. Kendrick?
Especially Mr. Kendrick. As soon as I heard the door creak, I knew what face I'd see. When I tell Emma not to let anyone in, there's only one man it could be. Rude, arrogant, no warning. That's Mayor Rogers in a nutshell. White summer shoes, white socks, white shorts, white polo shirt, and the white smile of a hungry shark. Mayor Rogers enters every room like he owns the place. Even the floorboards under his feet sound like they're creaking an apology. He never shied away from the odd corruption scheme. It's like the devil walks behind him. In the movies, the villains controlling the city play golf with the judges. Rogers plays tennis with them instead. That's about the only difference.
Jack, I was hoping to catch you after the press conference. You ran away so quick.
There's no smoking at City Hall. No reason for me to hang around.
Well, this morning I signed a ban on smoking in all public buildings. Soon you won't be able to smoke here either.
Soon enough I won't be here at all.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about. The people of this city like you, Jack. The police chief of all people. Don't betray that, Jack. Don't get wrapped up in any schemes. Sit nice and quiet for the next 180 days, and you'll be remembered as a hero. That's the only thing that you still have left. Be the hero.
Then how am I supposed to scrape together a retirement fund?
You had a million chances to secure a luxury pension, one that even I would have envied, although I've never set aside any money for myself. I'm not planning to retire anytime soon. "180 days of quiet, Jack. That's all I need. I don't have any problems with you, and you won't have any problems with me. I have a new assistant, Troy Starr. If you have something to tell me, call him. But try not to bother him. He's a busy man."
I'll do my best.
"And quit smoking up the office. One of my friends will be using it soon."
Oh, I'm sorry, babe. Only the mayor has this number. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, is this Troy Starr?
Yes?
Go fuck yourself, Troy Starr. Cops don't use the police station cafeteria anymore. There's some kind of stigma against sitting shoulder to shoulder with your partners. Everybody just takes snacks from the machines or grabs a meal and hammers it down in the corner like a vulture on a corpse. The main thing? Don't look into anyone's eyes. Could be construed as an invitation to sit together. The only people eating here are ghosts. My deputy, Francis Kendrick, he recently became one of those ghosts, the subject of one of the most devastating corruption scandals in the history of Freeburg. No evidence to support the accusations, but everyone knows Kendrick's days are numbered. I need that file I asked for. Needs to be ready tonight. Francis didn't say anything, but I understood. Ghosts aren't supposed to talk. Besides, I got a feeling he was already finished. Used to be, when I asked Kendrick to stay late at the office, he liked to grumble and crack wise. Nowadays, he doesn't have the strength for it. Slumped shoulders, blank stare, wrinkled skin. The past few weeks, I don't hardly recognize my old friend. In his younger years, he reminded me of a gallant royal officer in an old Kipling story. Kendrick isn't just crumbling under the weight of the public pressure, but from the shame of it all. Internal Affairs raided the library he inherited from his grandfather, hoping they'd find buckets of cash stashed in the pages. Heard about the look on his face, the fearless policeman standing helpless in horror. I've known Francis for 30 years. The past 20 years he's played loose with the law. And I know that at a certain point every stolen dollar brings more misery than anything else. Probably sounds crazy, but I sympathize with the guy. What can I do? Your friends are your friends, and these are the waters we swim in.
Called all of the people on that list today. Now they know you're in business, so you could get a call from any of them. You don't need to worry about any of them. I've cleared them all.
And what kind of business are we talking here?
It's nothing too serious, just like you asked. Should be just a few small favors. Payments will vary depending on the situation and who you're dealing with. How much are you looking to earn?
$500,000.
$500,000? Why not a whole million?
Because everybody wants to take $1 million. Figured I'd try something different.
$500,000 in 180 days? Well, you could earn it all above board if you netted all the big fish and hit all your bonuses.
Never knew you for a fisherman.
Well, you never got into my business, and I'm not trying to get into yours. But be careful about bringing in any other cops. Sooner or later, they'll put the finger on you. And one more thing, Jack. I remember what you said, but I should probably add one more name to that list. Christopher Sand.
Sand. Christopher G. Sand. Everyone knows the name, but few could tell you who he is. The old man stays away from the spotlight. Always wears old-fashioned jeans and knitted sweaters. Gives to charity. Rarely attends social events. An avid hunter, I hear. Even dabbles in poetry. You'd never guess he's the head of the oldest and most powerful gang in the city. Goes back as far as his great-grandfather. And Sand is strict about following the old rules. He rarely involves himself in commonplace murders and robberies. Hardly needs to intimidate anyone to get his point across. The people who work for him each have their sphere. They provide protection where needed, even work with the authorities when they want to make a deal. Meanwhile, Sand pulls the strings without getting his hands dirty. People sometimes mistake his quiet approach. A couple years ago, an arms dealer decided to expand its business without asking permission, and his whole family paid the price. In 4 weeks, Sand killed 31 people. Old men, women, even a few teenagers. And Sand's people made sure every paper reported it. Frank, I don't want to hear you say that name again.
Jack, please, listen to me. I'm in with these guys.
We agreed, Frank. That's not the kind of business I'm into. I don't go there. Never have, never will. Whenever I'm alone at home and there's a knock at the door, I always hope it'll be my wife, Laura. She's always forgetting her keys.
Hello, my name is Steve, and you're Jack Boyd, is that right?
To get to my front door, the Bible boys walked about a mile from the local bus stop, jumping over mud puddles and skirting a couple of landfills. Laura doesn't go in for religion either, but according to her, these brave lunatics with their fake smiles deserve at least a minute of attention. She patiently listens to them, asks them questions, regales them with pastries, and never once dropping a hint of condescension. When I watch her do it, I've got to admit it gets me. I'd have hugged those boys, sat with them on the porch, and lit up a cigar. But a month after Laura left, all I could do was quietly ask them not to bother me. Today I'm a little rougher still. Shut the door on his nose this time. Another couple weeks at this rate, and I'll be greeting anyone who comes close with my service pistol pointed towards the sky, ready to fire my warning shots. In my life, even the basic stuff never goes like it's supposed to. Normally, when a wife is going to leave home, she'll make a scene, or at least sit everyone down for a serious conversation. But Laura just disappeared. The children in the stories always stand on the side of the mother, but all three of our sons supported me. The in-laws always blame the husband for making their daughter unhappy. But now Sally, Laura's mother, well, we sort of have a pact. The fellow Laura ran off with is young enough to be her son. I hear he's 30 years old. Of all the possible information a man can know about his wife's lover, I get hit with that. Fortunately, Laura's mother doesn't like the way it sounds either. Sally figures this guy just thought he'd have some fun with a mature woman, but he'll be back chasing college girls before the year is out. So we have an agreement. Sally's going to track down Laura and try to reason with her, and we'll arrange a meeting. Meanwhile, I'm supposed to not do anything stupid, which of course means anything at all. It's a crazy situation. I'm the police chief, and the person I'm trusting to find my wife is an old woman armed with a phone book. But I can't afford to lose Sally as an ally. So for the moment, I had to swallow my pride.
Hello.
Mrs. Markham, this is Boyd.
Oh, is there any news?
That's what I wanted to ask you. Have you found anything? An address, phone number? Have you spoken to her?
Don't worry, Jack. I've narrowed the range to 2 suspects, or whatever you like to say at your police building.
At my police building, we find people faster than a funny old woman chirping on the phone with my wife's girlfriends.
Oh, you're an old man, Jack. Come to your senses. They'd give us straight odds on the street. But I've got more energy, Jack. Maybe you think I'm a foolish old woman, but I go to my book club, argue with the girls about Byron, and it gives me energy. I talk to my dogs, and it gives me energy. And you have nothing, Jack. You don't even have a hobby. You got no passion. It's why Laura left you.
Let's not go back into that, Sally. Find my wife, and we can discuss my hobbies later. I'm waiting for your call, and my patience is running thin. Laura, if you've stopped loving me, I'll let you go. I can't expect the impossible from you. Just don't let me die out here, okay? Why would a man need a barn? To store all the stuff you can't bring home. About 30 years ago, back when I was young and interested in farming, I carried all kinds of junk home. After a day in the field, I'd come home with buckets, shovels, dirty boots and clothes, and instantly transform the living room. But even back then, there's something I always kept in the barn. I stopped keeping my pills inside the house because every time I was about to take a triple, someone would knock on my bedroom door. Now they're knocking on my barn door. Well, fine. It's not every day that someone comes to visit your barn. In all the years we worked together, Kendrick never came to visit the house. We drank at bars, went fishing, went to the mountains, even chased off some poachers one time. But he never came for dinner with the family. We never watched football over here. And now he's brought his friends to visit my barn. I always try to look unsurprised, like it's an everyday thing to get visitors at the old barn, especially guests with their own personal bodyguards. But Kendrick is sharp enough to see he's caught me with my pants on backwards.
Sorry for the surprise, Jack. We saw you from the car. Figured we'd find you in here. I'm going in for a minute, fellas. These guys will wait outside.
How long you been dating the lover boys?
They're Sans people, Jack.
Yeah. So now you're appearing in public with members of the Mafia?
Jack, I'm leaving tonight. More like fleeing. Jenny and I are taking the girls and making a run for it. Probably won't be seeing each other again. I've got new documents, a new name, a new life, everything new.
The papers say you're still working your last week for the department.
I've got to get out today. I won't be getting another chance. Don't know if you noticed, but the whole city is against me.
You told your Mafia friends about your plans.
Jackie, if I don't fix everything with them in the next few hours, they're going to kill me. And not just me. My family, my relatives, God, Jack, I don't know who else. They found out that I was planning to run, and they demanded that we close our contract today.
Your contract, Frank? Really? Is that how you talk now? Maybe you should call in the lawyers to straighten all this out.
Now is not the time, Jack, please. I have a commitment to them until the end of the year. They need an inside line at police headquarters. I can't just give them back the money. That's not how the Mafia works. If I can't find someone I can trust tonight, I'm dead. You know me, Jack. I wouldn't ask you if I wasn't afraid they'd cut my daughters to pieces before sunrise.
He's the damn fool who puts his daughters in the crosshairs in the first place. Anyone in my place would have dressed him down good. But I didn't want to pile it on. Fate's already got this guy's soul in the grinder. Give him my phone number and tell him it's done. Don't call me. Don't come to work today. I don't want to see or hear from you again. Time for you to go.
Jack,
Get the fuck out of my nice cozy barn, Frank. At the time, I was trying not to think about what just happened. It was almost too much to take in. I'm probably the most popular police chief in the history of the city, and I have to admit, I've thought about that more than once, sometimes with a little pride even. In one of the features they wrote about me in the papers, they said it pretty plain. He catches the criminals. Believe me, high praise like that is unheard of in Freeburg, especially for a cop. And here I am, the person who catches criminals, and I've agreed to help the Mafia, or I'll come home to a bag stuffed with my kids' body parts. Right before the last hammer falls. Hey, remember that cop who caught criminals? It turns out he was a Mafia bitch. And all for the sake of a greedy, corrupt cop who should have fled the country years ago. That sound right to you?
Mr. Boyd, there was a man here earlier. He left you this.
A man? What man? Who let him on this floor?
I don't know. I've never seen him before. I asked him his name, but he just ignored me. He was talking on a big telephone, you know, one of those portables. He gave me this envelope and left.
Damn. Okay, let's see about this. Of course, they could have shot them the second they took the photo. But I knew Kendrick and his family were all right. Either way, the message was not that they got out. It meant that I was in. My servitude to the Mafia had begun. I'd only been in my new position 5 seconds, and I already knew why Kendrick called it a contract. You sound doomed if you call it what it is. A curse. Boyd.
Good morning, Jack. I believe you just received my message.
Who am I speaking with?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forget some people don't recognize my voice. But I assure you, Jack, if I was sitting right there in front of you, you'd have no trouble recognizing me. Like I was a member of your family. Even better than a wife, perhaps. A wife can betray you. No man is immune.
I don't talk to people who don't tell me their names.
Oh, Jack, don't be so childish. You're too old to run away from strangers. Yes, we both are. And in our old age, friendship becomes rare and all the more precious. But of course, we must work with new people and find out new names. So if you insist, Jack, let us formally meet. Hello, Jack Boyd. I'm Christopher Sand.
Wonderful, Mr. Sand. And what is it you do for a living?
Oh, you'll soon find out all about that. Well, you'll learn much more than a simple policeman could ever expect. You're a simple policeman no longer, Jack. Don't turn off your phone. You start today.
Eight in 10. It's been my go-to principle since my first day on the job. I've got to let my colleagues hush up what they need to, 2 out of 10 times, so that they'll help me with the remaining 8. 80 out of 100, 800 out of 1,000. I'm proud of those statistics. It's not so bad for Freeburg, right? But now I just officially became a mafia whore. I'm supposed to be fearing for my life, for the lives of my wife and children. But the only thing I can think, what's going to happen to 8 and 10? The people of Freeburg have built up a tolerance for the petty horrors of modern life. You'll never see crowds gathering around a beaten passerby. Folks rarely even slow to gawk at a car accident. And street theft doesn't turn heads anymore. Been a long time since people got worked up about stuff like that. So when I ran into a troubled crowd on the way to work, I knew there was something serious going on. Something bad enough to knock these people out of their daily rhythm. And we're talking about people who would step over a corpse if it was blocking the door to the coffee shop. But apparently all it takes is a bunch of leaflets, or spreading broken glass across Main Street, or releasing a couple of 100 rats in the ice arena. The mysterious figure taking responsibility for these strange acts goes by the alias Robespierre. Nobody knows who he is, what he wants, or what all this adds up to, from the buckets of lard spread on the sidewalk to the front door of City Hall covered with ostrich feathers. But this strange cross between childhood pranks and cheap theatrics has got the people all worked up. Everyone understands when some Freeburg crook satisfies the basic human need to rob and kill. But when someone steals a lion from the local zoo and locks him in a cell below the courthouse, the people start asking questions. Myself, I kind of like this Robespierre. It's not just the pranks he's pulling or his green bull's head emblem. I just like his funny nickname. Robespierre? Really? Who does that make me? The Marquis de Lantenac? I don't think so. In the old books about revolutions, I fancy myself the old gunner who goes off to war with a bag of damp powder. Or maybe the innkeeper who tops up the beer kegs with mop water. It's something to think about. In my new role as corrupt official, I had to give up some of my favorite habits. I couldn't turn off my phone when my head ached. Couldn't sleep till noon on Saturday and let the rest of HQ take up the slack. No more days off to go fishing. But my weekly visit to the old Colony Club was more like tradition. One night a week, I absorbed cigar smoke, the vague smell of alcohol, the stench of urine, all mixed with toxic levels of old drunken belches. Same picture it was 30 years ago. Tradition's gotta be honored. And to stay faithful to the tradition, you've got to respect the standard rituals. When you're about to roll out of the club, you need to take a deep breath and count to 100. If your stomach doesn't do a backflip, you should be good to make it home. This time I only got up to 60. I was interrupted.
Why? You look even better than you do on TV.
There's nothing more impolite than approaching people in the alley at the old Colony. This is the most private place in the city. All who enter here dirty their shoes with the most elite stream of vomit in Freeburg. This asphalt has been blessed by judges, lawyers, artists, businessmen, and all our politicians. Takes a lot of balls to crash the party. My head was a drunken haze, but I knew who he was. A cartoon gangster suit straight out of Dick Tracy. Fancy voice, fruit cologne, sassy strut. That's how the newspapers described Vikas Varga, rising star in Freeburg's criminal underworld. He appeared out of nowhere, and with the support of the local punks, Varga broke all the old rules of organized crime. He killed those who could not be killed, traded what could not be traded, and robbed those who could not be robbed. In just a single month, this man had gathered an incredible amount of power. He's been called everything from a clown to a madman to a criminal genius, and more often than not, he's called a low-class upstart short on ideas. But if Vargas was one of the old crime bosses, he'd have been cut into pieces and fed to the river. Look past this guy's arrogance, and there's something about him. The city is still deciding what to do with him. Meanwhile, he's burning down the houses of old city mobsters. Not the best time to talk, Mr. Varga.
Oh, you know my name. I'm flattered, although not very surprised, to be honest. I might be a little short on manners. Like they say in your fair city, with the right manners, you can go anywhere. Well, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay right here.
Even the criminal world needs manners, Mr. Varga. And one of them is this: don't interfere with a drunken cop who's trying to take a shit and puke at the same time.
Oh, you exaggerate. But is Freeburg always so gentle with its officers? You've been a bit roughed up lately.
I see you already know Freeburg quite well, Mr. Varga.
Well, I love to learn and look around, but I do know that the inhabitants of this fair city should be friends, Jack. Maybe it's true I don't have the best manners. After all, it's only polite for friends to share their phone numbers. This city of yours moves so fast. I feel like I'm hooked on amphetamines all over again. You wake up in the morning full of ideas, and by nightfall, you've all had each other killed. So don't wait too long to call. I don't mind if you're drunk. It's all the more fun. I'll be stoned myself, most likely. Hell, I'm a little stoned right now. It's the only way to live in this place. I like your city, Jack. I'm here to stay.
If it weren't for the phone number written on my arm, I probably wouldn't have remembered the conversation in the morning. But there was no reason to worry. I'd be getting a reminder soon. My morning ritual was plagued by the smell of Vicus Vargas' fruity cologne. It was like the sharp citrus scent was chasing me around the house, as if Vicus was right there in my living room. When I finally realized the smell was coming from a big basket of oranges, it didn't put me any more at ease. I'd opened my door to lots of threatening mail, evidence of criminal wrongdoing, even a dead ferret or two. But fruit? Never. You the fruit guy?
Excuse me?
Was it you that brought the basket of oranges?
Nah, it was here when I arrived.
Fine. So who are you?
Today, I'm your driver.
And where are we driving?
To work.
That's it?
Yeah, we have to make an important stop along the way.
Where?
The ranch.
What ranch?
Just the ranch.
Fine. The morning seemed surreal, and I took in the magic. Why wreck it with meaningless chatter? As my tight-lipped chauffeur drove an hour through God knows where, I started to feel like I was in the middle of a bad dream, probably lying bloody and concussed in the alley behind the old Colony Club, my nose buried in a rotten orange peel. But no, this was no dream. The silence was real, the sound of the engine was real, the dust was real enough too. And there was the ranch over the horizon. It all seemed familiar. The Sand family's overbearing mansion has been the talk of the headlines for decades, but few have managed to get closer than a few miles. I guess I'm just lucky. I didn't know you took private meetings, Mr. Sand.
Only if I expect good company.
I'm surprised my company ranks at all.
Today, yes. Today is a special day.
So it seems.
Do you often go to the old Colony Club, Jack?
Every week.
Meet any interesting people there?
As a rule, no.
Sometimes you make a date, right? Sometimes make new friends.
Sometimes, I guess. But that's not why I go.
And why?
I consider it a hobby.
A hobby. Do you know anything about my hobbies?
Well, judging by the half-dozen animal skins I stepped on walking over here, it's not much of a reach to say you like hunting.
Love it. Well, I say that now. It seemed so tedious when I was a child. Took ever so long. But now I'm older. I've developed a new talent.
What talent is that?
Patience. The will to wait for the right moment. Let's say you want a deer. You know, you deserve it. You've even decided what dishes its meat will go to and where you'll mount its horns. But to get that deer, you've got to wait. To sit in the bushes and stay nice and quiet. Professional hunters will tell you that the hunt is a rare craft. There are many rules. It's shrouded in mystery and ancient skill. Well, that's all complete nonsense. To get a deer, you just sit on the sidelines for a long enough time, pinpoint the moment when it's finally time to shoot. I learned the talent, Jack, but not like you, oh, Jack. You truly are the master.
I don't understand.
Oh, come on, Jack. I know about the 500,000. I know your plan. Kendrick told me everything. Needless to say, I'm impressed. While some people learn to hold their breath for minutes on end and not to rustle the leaves too loudly, why you decided to just become the foliage. You turned yourself into a bush, surrounded by deer who've been so fruitfully multiplying for decades. But all this time you've held your rifle at the ready. Forgive an old man his imagery, Jack. I've the heart of a poet, I confess.
Look, I don't know what was said between you and Kendrick, but it sounds like you got it wrong.
Oh, I think I understand everything just fine. And I think we understand each other quite well. Jack, in the coming war, we'll make excellent partners.
What war?
One war falls upon every generation. My grandfather drove out the Ambersons back when he was 27. My father destroyed that psychopath gangster Maurice Bell when he was a sprightly 30. At 69, I'd begun to think my war had passed me over. But my time has come at last. Tomorrow Vicus Varga declares war, and I'm obliged to answer.
So we're talking about Varga now.
I don't know how he thinks. I don't even know whether he plans his actions or not. I can't divine his purpose. Hell, I don't even know where he comes from. He's a man not of our breed, wouldn't you say? But when he arrived here, I invited him in, told him we could work together. An official invitation penned in my own hand and written on some very expensive paper. And can you imagine his reply? A fruit basket. What sense can be made of such a message?
I guess it means whatever you want it to.
Precisely.
I'm late for work, Mr. Sand.
You know, Jack, I could just give you $500,000 right now, cash, whatever denominations you like. But I would never insult you so. If I went stalking my prey for so many years, I wouldn't want someone else to shoot it for me. I understand you, Jack, and I'll never ask you for anything that's contrary to your nature. Just think about our conversation. Think about it, and call me.
Like I said, it's a whole new life, and I've had to give up some old habits. One of them, keeping away from things that don't concern me. Now I can't afford the luxury. This spotlight I'm under, concerns is all I got. Tell him it's Boyd.
Is everything okay, Jack? I'm not calling in the middle of a job.
No, you're okay. Did you find her?
Yes, I found her. Nothing shocking, don't worry. She's living with an insurance agent in the suburbs. He's 31 years old, recently divorced. He has a funny car, you know, like in that movie where that...
Did you talk to her?
Yeah, we talked. More like I talked and she basically cried. God, she hasn't cried so much since high school. You know, she was dating this boy from a restaurant and, what was his name? And
so, Laura, she'll be back?
Of course she'll be back. She just needs time.
Time? You mean once she gets tired of screwing the insurance agent?
Jack, you're talking about my daughter.
Yeah, I know. I want to... Well, I just want her to come back as soon as possible.
Don't worry, I'm with you. We just need a little patience. I know it's asking a lot, Jack, but you really just gotta be patient. Wait for my call.
All right. Again, I'll wait for the call. Yes, understood. I know the situation is asking a lot from you too, Mrs. Markham. Thank you. And please, call me anytime.
Jack?
Yeah?
You okay for money?
Excuse me?
Well, you know, where the papers were talking about your resignation, they said you and Laura were a little tight, and I thought maybe you'd...
Good God.
Jack? Jack?
According to Mrs. Markham, I was supposed to spend all day thinking up the right words. But to my surprise, I did my best work when I shut my head off. I didn't even want to think why Laura decided we'd meet at 3 o'clock in the morning, and in a restaurant we'd never gone to. I didn't know what to tell her, and something tells me she's no more ready for this meeting than I am. By nightfall, I finally stopped worrying. The right words would come when they were needed. And if they don't come at all, then so be it. I've heard said, when you're knocked out by a single blow, you don't have time to feel any pain. Well, that's a lie. It's painful as hell. Every day I spent in that coma, the pain was unbearable.
Yeah, I heard about that already. But what if they decide to spill it to the papers? We need to start thinking now about covering our asses. I know people who can deal with this, but they'll need at least a week. Plus, if we want to...
Lieutenant Stat, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have Jack Boyd on the line.
Who?
Jack Boyd, sir. He's calling from the hospital.
Gibson, I'll call you back. Don't do anything without my team. Jack, well, wow. I didn't know you were awake. Doctor said you could be in that coma for months, even years. How are you feeling?
Tell me who's in control, Martin.
I don't think I follow you.
For God's sake, Martin, tell me it's you running the department and not some stooge from the mayor's office.
Yes, Jack. I am performing the duties of the police chief, but the new man's coming on Saturday, Kevin Paulson.
Kevin Paulson?
Yes, it's the guy from the...
I know who Kevin Paulson is. Now listen carefully, Martin. I'm coming back to work. I'm Freeburg's police chief, and it's going to stay that way for another 4 months. Now you get on the phone and do whatever needs to be done. You run into any problems, threaten them with the media, court, or blackmail. But I don't think they'll give you any trouble. The mayor knows it's easier to just wait until the winter than deal with a scandal. Oh, and assemble a press conference.
Listen, Jack, I know the truth is on your side, but you have to take into account...
Martin, how long since you transferred to my department?
Coming up on 5 years now.
How many times in the last 5 years have you come to my birthday party? How many times have you come to the farm when I had the boys over?
Never had the pleasure, but...
Never. Because you couldn't care less. And I don't care for you either, Stat. It wasn't me who appointed you deputy, and you wouldn't have been my first choice. But if you do ever come over to my house, you won't miss the big hole in my backyard. Garbage pit. You know, for old rubbish. A smelly hole filled with rotten furniture and other crap. So, Stat, if I even for a moment doubt your devotion, you'll go straight into that pile of trash. Maybe you'll get to catch up with some old friends. You remember Kendrick, don't you?
I'll schedule the press conference for tomorrow, all right, Jack?
The day after tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going shopping. No, that would be too much.
Wow, Jack, what's with the outfit? You planning on...
The pit in the backyard, Martin. Always remember about the pit in the backyard.
Don't talk to anyone before the press conference starts. I'll try to get you on stage quickly. Kevin Paulson is here. He wanted to...
Jack! I hardly recognize you. That's quite an image for a man like you. An old dog with a new trick, right? We should see each other more often. How long has it been?
Last time I saw you, I fired you, Kevin.
Ha! You mean the day I resigned in protest over the corruption and lawlessness at your police department, right?
Yeah, repeat that shit often enough, someday you might start believing it.
You know, Jack, I'm glad that everything turned out so well. Unlike you, I've made good use of the past 7 years. My new construction company keeps getting jobs from the city, and we're doing really well. I have a new house, new hobbies, even a new wife. Maybe you've met her. Shelley Rogers.
Oh, Shelley Rogers. So you really are in bed with the mayor.
It's a dream come true. All my dreams have come true. Only one thing remains. To bring order to the Freeburg Police Department.
You being serious, Kevin?
I'm serious as ever, Jack. I'm the most serious man you know.
It's not often you see the past and the future Freeburg police chiefs at the same press conference. I hope you have time to talk, Kevin. There's something we need to discuss. Jack, the reporters are waiting for you.
My retirement plan somehow just got turned into a circus. Fortunately, I'm pretty good at swallowing swords and jumping through burning hoops. They all seem to like it.
Impressive recovery, Mr. Boyd. I'm still not happy about how soon you're back to work. Well, not happy as your doctor. As a resident of Freeburg, I'm immensely grateful for it.
Really?
Just don't tell anyone, or they'll pull my license.
Well, thank you again for coming to see me at night.
Oh, well, whatever you need, Mr. Boyd. Any doctor in this town would come running any hour, day or night, you can believe me. You're not suffering from headaches. It says here that you are taking painkillers after a back injury. But the prescribed dose is enough to...
Dr. Kraczynski, you trust me?
And, sorry?
Do you trust me?
In what way, Mr. Boyd?
You think I'm an honest and reasonable man, Doctor?
You're joking, Mr. Boyd. Thanks to you, my wife finally agreed to buy a house here, and we've decided to have children. Thanks to you, I'm not afraid to visit my patients at night. I think you are the most honest and reasonable person in the city, Mr. Boyd.
Great. You see, Dr. Kraczynski, I'm an addict.
Mr. Boyd, is...
Well, not a drug addict in the way you might imagine. I'm not some weak-willed junkie. Sometimes I stay clean so long that the tablets stay locked in the barn so long they go past the expiration date. But there are less pleasant stories.
You know what? Let's...
I once took a whole bottle right there in the barn. Passed out in my own vomit. I almost choked. I fought the convulsions, somehow managed to break 4 ribs. For 2 weeks, my chest was so sore I wanted to die. But for those 2 weeks, I kept swallowing pills. Couldn't stop.
If you want, I could...
I once took a dose right before a party at home. My wife Laura had some old friends over from college. I didn't take that many, maybe 5 or 6 pills, but it felt like I'd taken a few hundred. I passed out while I was carrying a tray of drinks. On the way down, I knocked over a set of Laura's scented candles. The house almost burned down. The repairs took a good chunk from our savings.
Mr. Boyd, if you'll allow me, I just...
As you can see, Doctor, I'm well aware of the seriousness of the situation and the possible consequences. But sometimes I need the pills. I don't use the word lightly. Sometimes I've got to work on cases with more energy than I've got. I can't do it without 'em. And I know you want me doing my job. So tomorrow I want you to come here and bring me some tablets. Lots of tablets. 10 bottles. No, better 15. Yeah, 15 bottles. The next 3 months are going to be extremely difficult, Doc.
I would like to discuss your...
You'll bring the pills, Doctor?
Yes, Mr. Boyd. Yes.
Very good. Look, I don't want to trouble you any further. I bet your family doesn't like you running away with me at night. I'd bet they'd rather I was still in that coma.
Mr. Boyd, I'm going home. Do you need anything?
Oh, no, don't go. I need to talk to you. I won't keep you long. I just need to make one phone call and I'll be right out, okay?
Of course, Mr. Boyd.
Do you know what time it is?
I didn't mean, well, maybe I did. Guess I'm a son of a bitch.
Jack? Good Lord, Jack, I wanted to talk to you. Was wondering if you'd call. How do you feel?
I'm good, Mrs. Markham. Better than ever. The back pain is gone, the insomnia is gone, my hair is growing back, and my pathological indecisiveness seems to have run off somewhere.
Jack, if you think I had anything to do with that...
I'll waste no more time trying to think, Mrs. Markham. Every second counts. There's a lot to do. And one of those things is finding Laura.
Jack, your tone is scaring me.
Good. Turns out I have a knack for that, scaring people. So, Mrs. Markham, I'm going to look for my wife, and if you somehow get in my way, I'll send a special squad to your house. First they'll throw your dog in the fire, then they'll arrest you for prostitution.
What? What the prostitution?
Sometimes it's necessary to invent charges. It's not like I can arrest you for being an unbearable bitch. Emma, I need a detective.
Oh, of course, Mr. Boyd. What shift?
No, not one of ours. A private detective.
Oh.
I know that when your father stole your mother's jewelry and left her, you hired a private investigator. You didn't go to the police.
You know, Mr. Boyd, it was a family problem, and we felt that it would...
I understand perfectly, Emma. You don't need to explain anything. I'm in a similar situation. As you might have heard, my wife left the house. She's missing, you could say.
I'm not sure what you're...
I know you've heard all about it. I want her found, but I don't want the department involved. Same reason you didn't. So I decided to hire your private detective. Think you can arrange it?
Oh, of course, Mr. Boyd. I'll call him and arrange everything. And don't worry, he'll keep it a secret.
Fine. What do you need from me?
Well, just gather all the information that might be useful and put it in an envelope, bring it to me, and I'll take it to him.
Good. Okay, take the day off tomorrow and get a good night's sleep. The day after tomorrow, I'll have that envelope for you. All the information about Laura, just like you asked.
Mr. Boyd, keep your voice down. Someone could be listening.
Oh, I'm sorry, Emma. It's my first time doing something like this. Here's the envelope. Everything's in there.
Fine. Mr. Boyd, please write for Mr. Fry on this envelope and drop it in the mailbox across the street.
What? I don't want this handled like it's some kind of game.
Mr. Boyd, those are the rules. Now please lower your voice.
Fine. Okay, Emma. I'll put this envelope in the mailbox across the street, just like you said. Wonder how that damn Mr. Fry is going to get an envelope out of the mailbox.
Talking to yourself, Mr. Boyd? And we thought we'd have to catch you at the police station. But it turns out Jack Boyd has come down to meet us personally. Do you know why we're here, Mr. Boyd?
I don't even know who you are.
My name is Eugene Chaffee. I'm a businessman. Rather, a restaurateur. Although I usually tell everyone I'm a businessman. Which sounds better? Businessman or restaurateur?
Oh, I think I've heard of you. You have a restaurant and a slaughterhouse. And you serve refried veal steaks.
Well, refried veal steaks isn't my only business, but perhaps it's what I'm best known for. I thought it was time we meet, Mr. Boyd, and my friend here. I believe you're already acquainted. His name is Troy Starr.
Never heard of him. So what do you want, Mr. Chaffee? Looking for a spokesman for your beef products? I recently changed my image and my hair.
Eugene and I really want to help you, Mr. Boyd. Although after our phone call, I've had my doubts. I was making love to my wife, and you called me and told me to fuck myself. That kind of behavior is rude and inappropriate, Mr. Boyd.
I didn't mean to offend you, Mr. Starr. Just thumbing my nose at that prick mayor of ours. You keep making love to your wife, or did I ruin the mood?
There's a nice cafe around the corner. Spare us a couple of minutes of your time, Mr. Boyd. Lately, I've been so busy that I rarely get to sit and relax in such a nice place, and with such interesting company.
Get to the point, Mr. Chaffee. I'm busy, too. In fact, I think I hear some teenagers next door robbing and raping an old woman. Maybe she's your aunt.
You see, Mr. Boyd.
Good morning. What do you want?
A big mug of beer.
We don't serve big mugs of beer.
Then a small mug of beer.
We don't have beer in any size glasses. This is a family restaurant. Moms and dads come with small children. I can bring you a lollipop to suck on.
Monica, where's your famous charm? Bring the gentleman a beer. I'm sure you've got a bottle under the counter. Check between the dead cats and the dried heads of your ex-boyfriends. This man, by the way, is your police chief.
Don't be silly. The police chief has a bald spot the size of a toilet seat.
So, as I was...
Oh, I'm sorry, Eugene. It's Rogers. Probably forgot how to wipe his ass.
When you're 82, Troy, you'll probably forget you need to wipe your ass at all. But very well, run along. We can continue without you. So, Mr. Boyd, as you may already know, the official job of my old friend Mr. Starr is to cause trouble for you. But believe me, it's not out of malice. It's to maintain his cover at City Hall. But to somewhat balance out this trouble, I've decided to help you out. Every day, pay close attention to your morning newspaper, Mr. Boyd. You'll find messages hidden among the pages. Simple notes, but make no mistake, the information you'll find there is extremely useful. You see, Troy Starr isn't my only spy. That's it, Mr. Boyd. I told you it would only take a couple of minutes. I wouldn't want to disturb you while you're enjoying your drink. Keep in touch, my dear little cupcake. Oh, yes, I'm quite good at puns.
Never imagined what meeting Robespierre would be like, but I certainly didn't figure the first thing he'd do was buy me a drink. Getting them to serve a beer at a family cafe? And this Robespierre has some strange superpowers. Strange, but Not entirely useless.
You should knock.
Don't worry, Martin. I don't care what kind of business you're up to. Although on second thought, scratch that. I'm very interested in your business. In fact, that's why I'm here. You have a lot of connections?
Depends on what you need.
I want to keep my job. I've got another 5 years in me at least. I want to prove my dismissal is illegal. You know someone who can help?
Jack, are you sure you want to get involved in this fight?
Martin, let's not,
Got yourself a new toy?
Oh, you noticed, Martin. Just like a teenager, always on the move. Yeah.
Hello. Is this Mr. Boyd?
Last I checked, who's this? And where did you get my personal number?
When you work at the prosecutor's office, it's not too hard to find someone's phone number.
The prosecutor's office? Just a second. Martin, out. I need to take this.
But Jack, it's my office. Okay, I understand. I'll go grab an ice cream. As for your little problem, Jack, I think we can work something out. Give me a couple of weeks.
Weeks?
Jack, what you're asking is...
Yeah, okay, I get it. Now get out already. I'm sorry, what did you say your name was?
My name is Lana Berman. I'm the deputy prosecutor of Freeburg. Well, one of the deputies. Not even the first deputy, to tell you the truth.
How can I help you, Miss Berman?
I don't know how to say this, Mr. Boyd. You see, Mr. Boyd, I'm in line to be the next prosecutor of Freeburg, and apparently that's happening quite soon.
Soon? Shea Broom was just re-elected for a new term.
Yes, but she'll be resigning in February. She's suffering from a heart condition, so she's chosen a replacement to carry out her term, and she chose me. You have no idea of the scandal, Mr. Boyd. I've only been at the prosecutor's office for half a year, and she chose me. It's incredible.
That really is unbelievable, Miss Berman. But what's it got to do with me?
Well, I understand how this call would seem strange to you, Mr. Boyd, but Mrs. Broom said she said that you have a lot going on, but you're the most honest official in the city. And if I really want to change the city for the better, and I swear that's what I want, then I should meet you.
I'm afraid Mrs. Broom was exaggerating.
Oh, believe me, Mr. Boyd, Mrs. Broom is not one to exaggerate. I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd, I need to run. Do you mind if I call you later?
Do I mind? Let me think. No, I don't mind, Miss Berman.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Mr. Boyd, I am Agent Avrahami, and this is Agent Roberts. You'll have to come with us.
What now? Oh.
Please get dressed, Mr. Boyd. We'll wait for you in the car. Mr. Boyd, did you hear what I said?
You know what? You boys can go to hell. I'm not going anywhere. Not right now, at least. You can come down to the police station during regular hours. You can't just come to my house while I'm sleeping, pull me out of bed without any breakfast. Right now, the only place I'm going is back to bed. I'm closing the door now, and if you...
Jack, what's all this? I told everyone what a great sport you are and how fun it would be to play a little joke on you. Where's your sense of humor gone?
Ethan, it's 5 in the morning. At this hour, the only thing that'll get me laughing is one of you feds slipping on a banana peel.
Well, what'd I tell you? He's such a joker.
You're getting old, Ethan.
You're getting fatter, Jack.
And you're getting boring.
And you're getting fired.
Fine. You win.
But you're still a snappy dresser, Jack. As I'm sure you can guess, we've got an assignment here in Freeburg. Come on, let's go. We'll fill you in at the scene. Oh, and I really am glad to see you, Jack. You have no idea. Meet Jack. And this is Agent Suresh, Agent Kumaro, Agent Ellis, and Agent Dixon.
Jeez, how many men did you bring?
11 people on my team, plus 2 heads, but they're still asleep at the hotel. We got to Freeburg a couple hours ago. Actually, I was asked not to communicate with the local police, at least until the press conference, but, well, you're a friend. And by the way, you're lucky you didn't have time for breakfast. Now, the press are calling him the Dentist. Just like every other fucking maniac, he's got his own stupid nickname. We spent 19 years chasing this guy. The MO is always the same. He kills young women in a small town, drops out of sight, and then reappears on the other end of the country with a fresh set of victims. He kills without hesitation, stuns the victim, then strangles her while she's unconscious. And that's when things get fun. He uses a power tool to remount the dead girl's mouth. For 5 years, we've heard nothing. That's the longest break he's ever taken. Then 6 hours ago, we got a crazy anonymous tip that the dentist was in Freeburg, and he'd already committed his first murder. They even told us the address of the house. Looks like our anonymous tip came from the dentist himself, but that hasn't been verified yet. Oh, Dixon, don't go anywhere. So, Jack, listen. Dixon will take you to the station. You can bring your people up to speed. I'm looking forward to full cooperation, and it would be great if you could bag a criminal like this before you retire. A nice farewell. You know what I'm saying, Jack?
Yeah, a nice farewell.
And Dixon, Mr. Boyd will tell you where to take him. Come on, look alive. You're the police chief's driver today, if that's good enough for you. I'll come around to see you tonight. Buy us some beers, huh? But not that piss you normally drink. That stuff gives me wicked heartburn. So I went downstairs figuring I'd find some mercenary or an escaped serial killer or some other lowlife I'd put away, right? But when I hit the lights, I saw a young kid. Couldn't have been 20. Skinny, dirty. Didn't even have a real weapon, just a rusty shiv. He just stood there, didn't say anything. My whole career, I've been staring down the most dangerous people in the country, and the only one to get into my house and scare my family to death was just some kid about to crap his pants. And I pointed my gun at him, and he just stood there with his mouth open.
Bad luck for him.
He was pretty lucky to still be alive. And you know what? It was you that saved him.
I think you have me confused with somebody else, Ethan.
No. Listen. All these years, me and Marla joked about how dangerous my job is. We figured that sooner or later someone would sneak into our house and cut us to pieces, yeah? Pretty dark jokes, but innocent enough. And Marla asks me not to jump into gunfights when she kisses me on the cheek before I leave for work. It's like we figured that if we joke about stuff like that, then it'll never actually happen. But, while I trained my gun at the kid's nose, I finally realized someone really can get into our house. Someone really can cut us to pieces. Now that it finally happened, I can't make any more jokes like that. Marla won't laugh anymore. She'll burst into tears and stay in bed all day crying, hating me more and more every second. So I figured the only way out of the situation was to show her that if someone really does dare to break into our house, he's guaranteed to get a bullet in the face. He'll die right there on the living room carpet.
God, Ethan, didn't know you were so bloodthirsty.
I'm telling you, Jack, I was serious about shooting this kid right there where he stood. I was about to pull the trigger. But then I remembered you. Remembered 1,000 years ago, we went to the lake and had some beers after an ethics lecture at the academy. I was all angry with that professor, Laszlo, yeah. Remember what he always told us? Being a good policeman is very simple. You just need to keep doing the right thing. I hated those pretentious speeches. I cussed Laszlo up and down and said, "If you always do what's right, you've turned yourself into a robot." And you just sat there, drunk eyes staring into the distance. And you were all calm and said, "No, Ethan, it's the other way around. To do the right thing takes everything you got as a human."
I said that. Oh, what an idiot I was.
Come on, Jack, it's not funny. When things get bad, it's those moments you gotta be hopeful and stay human. And I did just like you said. I stayed human. And then I slapped the cuffs on the kid in one quick move, just like Bobby Flash.
Bobby Flash?
What? You don't remember Evening Freeburg, the old news column? Stories about the cop hero Bobby Flash? Yeah, I heard they even published a book a few years ago.
Oh, that Bobby Flash.
Yeah, that Bobby Flash. How can you not remember Bobby Flash? We all argued at junior high about which one of us would be Bobby Flash when he grows up. Oh, I'm no Bobby Flash. A hero cop would never think about shooting a terrified teenager. But wait a minute. If I'm not Bobby Flash, then maybe you are.
Yeah, maybe so. Boyd here, and I hope you have a hell of a good reason for calling me in the middle of the night.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd. I'll call you back later.
No, wait. You're the girl from the prosecutor's office. Lana, right?
Yes, exactly. Oh, I'm so embarrassed, Mr. Boyd. The first thing Mrs. Broom told me about you is that you almost never sleep. I don't sleep too much either, so I thought I'd call you and apologize for last time.
But it wasn't the last time, was it?
Well, I've been going over our conversation in my mind, and I realized how stupid I sounded. You're the chief of police, and there's a strange girl calling you, saying she'll be the next city prosecutor, just to share the news, I guess. I must have sounded crazy.
Not so crazy as you imagine, Lana. When I learned I was going to be police chief, my parents were already dead, and my only friend was working 1,000 miles away from Freeburg. Wife and kids were relaxing on a distant island in the middle of the ocean. Took me 6 hours to get a hold of them. But I had to share the news with someone, or I would have gone mad. All the more because I was surrounded by half a dozen cops who figured they were ahead of me for the job. I figured you were feeling about the same.
It's like you're reading my mind. Now I'm like an outcast here. Most of them still think that Mrs. Broom was joking or trying to show her deputies that she's in charge of appointing her successor. But I know it's no joke.
For some reason, I didn't doubt it, Lana.
That's probably why I'm calling you. I know it's selfish. I'm sure your wife isn't too keen on girls calling you at night.
My wife and I, well, we're not living together. Maybe I'm the loneliest man in town, and that's why you called, to talk to someone even lonelier than you, huh? Lana?
You know, Mr. Boyd, maybe I'm an idiot, but until this moment, I didn't realize how lonely I am.
Well, you're in luck, because now you can call me anytime. But if you do, you'll have to call me Jack.
Jack? It'll take more than one phone call to get used to that.
Well, we're not in a hurry, are we?
True.
Boyd.
Well, finally, Jack. I've been dying to reach you these past 2 weeks, but I thought I should give you some time to recover your strength. How are you feeling?
Better than ever, Mr. Sand. Touched by your concern.
Well, I hope this doesn't sound too sentimental, Jack. But while you were laying in a coma, I thought about our last meeting many times. It was such a fascinating conversation. You said it yourself. You're a true hunter.
No, Mr. Sand, it was you who said that.
Was it? Well, it doesn't matter. What is important, Kendrick told me a lot about you, Jack. But I suddenly realized that he didn't give me the whole story. Why is it you only want half?
What are you talking about?
Well, why is it you only want to make half? Not a whole million, just half. Not 100,000, but 5. It's a very specific figure. How did you arrive at that number?
Well, I was looking at a house a couple hours outside of Freeburg, down the river. I figured to buy it, move the family, and set everything up, I'd need right around 500,000. It's not my style to take more than I need.
Ah. I must admit, Jack, I imagined all sorts of reasons, but none of them were close to the truth.
Are you disappointed, Mr. Sand?
No, not with you, Jack. Quite the contrary. I respect you even more.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Sand. And now if you'll excuse me, I have to go home and get some sleep.
Of course, Jack. I just...
Oh yeah, the work is definitely piling on. Truth is, if I didn't have Palmer helping me catch this psycho, I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
You know, when he got here,
And the stuff the newspapers are saying, is it true?
What are the newspapers saying?
The girl who was killed. She filed a sexual harassment complaint against the mayor? What about the other victims? Were they harassed by the mayor too?
Well, it's hard to say.
Is it true?
So far, the mayor's the only thing we have connecting the victims, but only one of them filed a complaint against him, and she withdrew it a few days later. Someone must have pressured her, but it's hard to say anything for sure.
But is it true? Do you think it's true?
Well, let's just say it seems like it might be. What's the matter?
The mayor raped me.
Can you repeat that?
The mayor of Freeburg, Stuart Rogers, he raped me. You heard me right.
When did this happen?
4.5 years ago when I was just out of college. They gave a reception for us at City Hall. Rogers gave a speech, and there were a few other speakers, then dinner. I drank the champagne, it was hot out, the music was loud. I was feeling dizzy, so I went to take a breath in a quiet corner. I found a conference room, then a few minutes later the mayor came in with his guard. Rogers whispered something to the guard, and the guard left. I didn't have time to figure out what was going on. Rogers just walked up to me, grabbed me by the throat and squeezed, and then he began to rape me. This went on. It lasted about 10 minutes.
Look, Lana, it would be very difficult to prove anything at this point, but
You wouldn't have to prove anything. I have a videotape.
A video?
A recording from a surveillance camera, a cassette. The raping mayor, sitting in my closet next to Kramer versus Kramer.
But how...
6 months after it happened, someone slipped the cassette under my door. This was the same time the city administrator, Mary Simmons, was dismissed. Quite a scandal, if you recall. I think that must have to do with it.
Lana, don't worry about a thing. We'll use this tape and ambush the bastard.
No, we're not going to do that.
Lana, listen to me. You need to...
It's been 4 years. Don't you think I've had time to think things through? I already decided I'm not pressing charges.
Lana, whatever you've been thinking, I promise you, it would be better if
No, it wouldn't be better.
For the past few years, I've worked hard so that people would take me seriously, so they'd respect me as a professional. If I step forward now, I ruin all my efforts, my whole future, and I'll destroy my one chance to make this city better. I'll be a sympathy case, I'll be humiliated, and then I'll be attacked. And the one thing I won't ever get again is respect.
Lana, you're talking about covering up a crime.
I'm doing it because I know it's the right thing to do.
Then you're a fool.
Oh my God, I made a mistake. Just forget everything I said.
Lana, Lana! Shit. Shit! Yeah, understood. Thank you very much, Walt. Sorry again for waking you up. Give my regards to Jean. Okay, gotta run. Hey, Martin, wait a minute. Martin, you still hang around with Bo Berenger?
Of course. In fact, he's my stepfather.
Great. Think he has a couple of men available? Today? Right now, in fact? There's something important I need taken care of.
Sure. Something you need help moving?
Not exactly. Here's the address. I need this house watched. All day and all night until I say stop. If anyone suspicious goes poking around, tie him up and bring him here. I'll pay double the usual rate. Or triple, whatever he needs. And nobody else knows about this, right?
Jack, they're more into looking after valuables, not houses.
What's the difference?
Well, these guys probably wouldn't care either way. Okay, Jack, no problem. I'll make the call. As for your retirement, I've been...
Let's focus on today, Martin. Now keep that house secure, all right?
Okay. I have a phone in the car. I'll call Bo right away.
I appreciate it, Martin. Believe me, I do.
Hey, Jack.
Yeah?
Anything else I need to know about this?
No. Better you don't.
Hello?
I'm an addict.
Please, I don't want...
Listen to me, Lana. I really am an addict. For 20 years now, give or take. I've been lying to myself that I'm in control of the situation, and sometimes it really seems like I am, but sometimes in the more desperate moments, I become completely dependent on the pills. And it's just dumb luck that I haven't killed myself. Or someone else. More than a few times, I've come pretty close. I've been stoned while I'm driving, was even stoned once during a firefight. I've been on drugs while I made decisions where dozens of lives were on the line. When I'm overworked, I need the pills. That's my problem. It's my weakness. But I always knew that if I admit my weakness, if I start talking about the problem publicly, if I go to rehab, then I'm already as good as retired. They'll take advantage of the scandal and get rid of me forever. It doesn't matter all the good work I'm trying to do at the police department. They'll just bury me. So I'm keeping my problem a secret, at least until I can retire. I have to. I know it's the right thing to do.
You realize, Jack, this is the first time you ever called me?
What?
You called me this time. I thought you were just waiting for me to stop bugging you, but now you called me and you opened up, even though you didn't have to. Maybe you're stoned?
What? No, I'm not stoned right now.
Well, Jack, I guess you need me as much as I need you.
I need you more than you need me.
Now I know you're stoned.
Lana,
I heard everything you said, Jack. I understood everything just fine. You don't need to say anything else.
Right, exactly. Say no more. Boyd.
I don't have much time, so listen close. And we got him, Jack. The dentist is in our custody.
Wow. Congratulations, Ethan.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure if it's our guy. But she's definitely the one who committed the murders in Freeburg. And it's a young woman.
Wait a second, did you...
A very large, very strong woman. What? Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jack, I gotta go. We've got a briefing. But, something's not right, Jack. Someone's leading us around by the nose. We'll talk later, okay?
I'd almost forgotten the feeling you get when you stay on the sidelines during a major bust. But I don't think I'll be out of the game for long. Palmer had nothing to do with this. The dentist, whoever he is, was a gift box meant for me. It just got delivered to the wrong address. And I've got a hunch who packed the box. Yeah, a box of Caesars.
With that outfit, I could see you coming a mile away, Mr. Boyd.
Ah, Mr. Chaffee. Knowing your love of theatrics, I was afraid you'd keep the mystery surrounding the dentist going for at least another day or two.
What could you mean, Mr. Boyd? Well, it's true. Robespierre does have a passion for mystery and the dramatic. But there's no need to confuse the actor with his character. For you, I'll play the hurried businessman who likes to cut to the chase. That's not quite me either, but though this mask I wear is quite a burden, I have long grown used to it. Besides, I don't want to distract you from your 180-day quest, not for a second longer than necessary. My, is half your time already up? You simply cannot imagine, Mr. Boyd, the painstaking work I've done to cultivate this maniac image. I turn to such literature the likes of which I wish I never knew. If our law enforcement agencies possessed even the slightest aesthetic sense, they would have instantly seen the game for what it was. And the postcards, what can I say?
And if the real dentist turned up again at the wrong moment? I don't imagine lunatics take kindly to imposters.
The dentist died of a heart attack last spring while he was sunbathing on the beach. I discovered this quite by accident, from a university friend, a therapist. It was he who convinced the dentist to stop killing, by the way.
Why the murders? Obviously they'd all been raped by Rogers. It would have been much easier to just get them to talk.
Mr. Boyd, the last thing I want is to appear a brutish butcher. I spent enough time on these women to know they were no use to me alive. Not sure if I should be ashamed to say it, but Stuart Rogers far surpasses me in his ability to intimidate people. Apparently, such things only come with experience. But murder? For that I truly do feel ashamed. It's a burden I shall have to bear for the rest of my days. But sadly, it's not my greatest shame.
What could be more shameful? To frame an innocent woman for such terrible crimes?
What? Are you unhappy with a woman cast as the serial killer? Firstly, I'd say dear Jordan adds a certain grace to the whole sordid story. And second, of all the people I hold in my debt, she's the strongest. And not just physically. Third, she had good reason to settle her debt with me as quickly as possible. Without going into details, I'll just say that she's a very, very caring mother. Do these taste good? Had we met earlier, Mr. Boyd, I would have shown you a far more refined pleasure, one without such an unpleasant smell.
I'm afraid to even imagine what you count as pleasures, Mr. Chaffee. Fountains of blood in the city square?
Mr. Boyd, you're not listening to me at all. I didn't take any enjoyment from the killings. Everything I've done was of strict necessity. I couldn't make Jordan kill all the women that Rogers raped. That would have been excessive. If I had made her kill them all, you'd be rather upset, no?
I can't say I fully understand your plan, Mr. Chaffee, but you've given me more than enough reasons to arrest you.
Yes, but allow me to counter them with one good reason not to. I think you mentioned you dined here once?
Yes, not the best restaurant in town.
And maybe you're just not familiar with the full range of our services. When I inherited this tasteless place from my father, I knew I could never make it into an exquisite restaurant. Instead, I accentuated the atrocity of it all, an aesthetic of a different kind. Now I even live here. To me, this complex is like a microcosm of Freeburg. But we're not here to talk about that. At school, I read a French novel whose name doesn't need mentioning, and I read many amazing things. It seems that in Paris, just before the Revolution, certain places were quite popular. People of wealth and taste visited from the city, shed their luxurious coats, peeled off their white gloves, and with the help of the local farmer, they brutally stabbed a hole in a bull and decorated themselves with the splattering blood as they prepared a large piece of meat for the fire. In the bull's suffering, these effeminate aristocrats found a perverse sort of pleasure. Now I make these pleasures available to the people of Freeburg. I will be honest with you. People who pursue such cruelty truly are crazy. But what is interesting? The best steaks are cut from the tender meat of young bulls. 11 months is just right, beautiful, healthy, full of strength. But these wealthy degenerates who pay $7,000, so our experts will show them where to plunge the blade for maximum effect. Even they don't have the spirit to slaughter the young bull. The thought never enters their minds. They look into the eyes of the healthy animal, bursting with energy, and they quickly shuffle past. As if by instinct, they are drawn to the old, weary, fading bulls. And then, with terrible smiles on their faces, they chew through tough steaks that taste of burning rubber. They feel that they're doing something real with their own hands, a sort of natural selection, as if they're agents in the natural process. But nature also teaches us that the old beast, unable to fend off any threat, might yet survive if it cowers in a dark corner and pretends it doesn't exist. Then, perhaps, the young predator will pass. Mr. Scott will drive you back. I'm late for an appointment.
Mr. Boyd, you won't believe it, but the person I just got off the phone with was talking about you.
Seems like I'm pretty popular these days.
By the way, Mr. Boyd, I've got to ask, why $500,000?
Go fuck yourself, Troy Starr.
Mr. Boyd, this is for you.
That's it?
What's it?
This is from our guy?
What?
It's from the private detective?
What? Oh, no. No, Mr. Boyd. It's from an Agent Dixon.
Fine. I'm sorry I couldn't swing by before I left, but I'll definitely be back to celebrate your retirement. Ethan. Bobby Flash, Diamonds and Thieves. Bobby Flash and the Card Shop. Bobby Flash and the Cats Club. Bobby Flash and the Temptations. Ah, that's what I need. Needless to say, I really miss them a lot. I can't wait for the moment when I'll see them again.
Wouldn't you like to see me?
Oh, Lana, but we,
Let me guess. You've thought about it, but then you realized this can only bring us more suffering. Besides, it's dangerous given the kind of work we do, and why ruin things when everything is going so well, right?
Well, if you know what I think, then you must be thinking the same thing.
Yeah, Jack. Because it's true. But is it fair?
You know what wouldn't be fair? If your friends caught you in a karaoke bar with an old man.
With an old man?
Maybe you imagine you've been talking to a young Greek god with long golden hair, but I'm a 60-year-old man, Lana.
Listen to me, Jack. Ever since high school, I've been surrounded by old men. At university, half my classmates were old men. They might have been 18 years old, but they were already half in the grave. No goals, no ideas, just endless burned-out looks on their faces, exhausted and empty. At work, even my younger colleagues act like old men. They don't have the stomach for a fight. They're already dreaming of retirement. And then there's you, Jack. The only man for a long time who felt the same age as me. Because you fight. Because there's life inside you.
Lana, damn, it's true. There's life in me yet.
Jack, you're so cocky.
Oh, excuse me, miss. I am the most promising young prosecutor in the country.
You know it's true.
Who's there? Show yourself or I'll start popping off.
Mr. Boyd, it's me, Mr. Fry.
I don't know any Mr. Fry, and if I did, I wouldn't want him coming around in the middle of the night.
Mr. Boyd, I'm a private detective. I was looking for your wife, Laura.
Right, my wife, Laura. I'm looking for my wife, Laura. Laura Markham Boyd. Right.
You want to throw on a robe, Mr. Boyd?
I'm not cold. So, Laura, what have you learned?
I know where she lives, who she's with. I know what her plans are. To tell the truth, I learned even more than I expected, but I can't tell you anything.
I'll keep a hold of this thing just in case. So, what were you saying?
I said I can't share this information with you, Mr. Boyd. You see, Laura... Well, let's say... Your beloved Laura is with a very wealthy man. I consider myself a good investigator, but he figured out pretty quick that I was onto him. We talked, all three of us, me, him, Laura, and, we agreed that I'd stop bothering them, and in return, I'm getting a very good position in the company he owns, Mr. Oh, I almost gave the name away.
You do realize I could shoot you right here.
Well, that would hardly be fair, Mr. Boyd. I might not have come here, you know. But I decided to come clean with you, look you in the eye.
I don't want you blaming Emma. She really wanted to help you. Plus, Mr. Boyd, I like you. You're a good chief of police, and I feel bad for you. So I talked to Laura, and she'll call you when she's ready. You just need to wait a little longer. And, well, I'm not taking a penny from you for my services.
Get out. Leave the beer.
But I already drank half of it.
Don't worry, I'm not squeamish. Hey, Fry, take off your shoes.
I'm sorry?
Take off your shoes. Leave them at the door and get out.
But why?
Because when I asked you to leave the beer, it seemed like you didn't really mind. And I want you to mind. And the socks. Fine. Good night.
Well, Jack, who's your favorite right-hand man?
Francis Kendrick. But go on.
A very good lawyer. Very good. Invented a way for you to keep your job. Though invented is hardly the word. He has a whole scheme. A big plan. I just had him on the phone. He's so full of ideas I could hardly get off. Believe me, Jack, this guy knows his stuff.
Wow, I do not know what to say, Martin. That's wonderful news. Can I meet him?
Yes, of course. He's not a local. Right now he's in court on the other end of the country, but he'll be with us in 8 or 10 days. When he gets to Freeburg, we'll sit down, the three of us, and we'll work through the details.
Sounds great. And now you want something from me?
Not at all. Yes. No. Well, I mean, part of his plan is a big public campaign for your support. Talk to the press, lots of interviews, maybe even a few street demonstrations. And it would be nice if your family was there with you. I know you're not talking with your wife, but maybe your children could...
No. Listen. My oldest son and his fiancée have arranged some sort of a trip around the world. A big 7-month tour. His girl's from a wealthy family, so they're taking him with them, along with my younger kids and a few of their friends. They're out there roaming the world, and I'm glad they're away from, well, you know, all of this. They don't even know that I'm getting fired, and I'd like it to stay that way.
Okay, Jack, I thought you might say that. No problem. Oh, it's been a rough day. I think I'll go home and sleep it off.
Martin, wait. Look, you mentioned that you know Laura and me aren't talking, and, well, you think you could help find her?
Jack, I understand that's been hard on you, but I think we should focus on your retirement problem. We finish this, then we'll figure something out, okay? One thing at a time.
I hear what you're saying, Martin, but... Jack Boyd.
Well, Jack, you ready to listen to me ramble for an hour or two? I've had a very busy day.
Almost ready. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, Martin, you're right. One thing at a time. Thanks again. Go home and get some rest. We need your strength. Now I'm ready.
Mr. Boyd, Kevin Paulson is here. He wants to talk.
Kevin Paulson. Tell him to fuck off. Jack Boyd, Super Cop.
Why the $500,000, Jack? Why?
Lana, what happened?
Does this sum have some kind of special meaning?
Lana, I don't know who told you about the $500,000, but it's much more complicated than you think.
Oh, it's complicated, all right. It took me an hour to go over all the documents. There's even a few pictures and a lot of answers. Except for one thing. Why $500,000?
What documents? How did you get them? What's in them?
I think you know very well what's in them, and the one who sent them is obviously a big fan of your criminal talents. He even has a cute name for you, Cupcake.
Remember when you told me how you're always surrounded by old men? Well, I'm the opposite. I'm surrounded by children, 9-year-old boys. From their first day of work, they gather in the smoking lounge, telling jokes about what they'll do when they loot their first $1,000,000. But it's more than just innocent jokes. It's quickly becoming a reality. They themselves are surprised how quickly everything happens. They buy their own houses, they buy a car, they get promoted. The first $1,000,000 is soon followed by a second, a third, a fifth. Like children, they have no idea what they're getting into. But I'm not like that, Lana. I'm not like them.
You're saying you're not like them because you're only stealing $500,000?
I only meant
You know, Jack, I'm done worrying about people not taking me seriously. They'll know I mean business when my first act as public prosecutor is throwing the city's former police chief in prison.
Lana, you can't just read over some papers like this and... I told you not to let him in!
I'm sorry, Mr. Boyd. I tried to stop him, but you...
Lana, we need to talk.
Jack, you're so amazingly patient with people. After all the confusion over the past months, all the humiliations, it's really quite admirable. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. I gotta admit, I'm not nearly so patient.
Send someone in here, now!
I've been thinking, Jack. When I take your place, I'll have a lot of opportunities. For example, I could arrest you. You know it wouldn't be hard to find a reason. You obviously don't want that, right? I don't want that either. Given your reputation, arresting you would make me very unpopular. And if we both don't want that, let's find a way out. My suggestion is you retire tomorrow, and I promise I'll let you leave in peace. I swear, Jack, if you...
Mr. Boyd, there's a call on line 2. Mr. Boyd, you really have to take this call.
Boyd!
Jack, it's me.
Laura,
Jack, I don't know what you wanted to say to me, but please, just say it. Jack, I'm hanging up the phone.
Laura, you... Oh my God, Laura. Hey, you remember years ago? So many years I've lost track, but do you remember when Dylan was down with the chicken pox and he couldn't sleep? We kept him occupied until he passed out, and then we went downstairs, sat on the floor, opened a bottle of wine. Who could blame us? Well, we sat on the floor and opened our bills and joked about how poor we were. Remember? And then I jokingly asked if I'd be your hero if I made $1 million. And you sat there lost in thought like you needed to seriously think about the answer. You were quiet for a while, and then you laughed and said that I'd be your hero even if I only made $500,000. Do you remember, Laura?
Jack,
Do you remember?
Honestly, Jack, no, I don't remember.
You don't remember? But that
Jack, you've been chasing me down for so long to talk with me. For this? That's all you wanted to tell me?
How can you not remember? It's important, Laura. It's important.
Goodbye, Jack.
Mr. Boyd, are you all right? Mr. Boyd?
Yes, you caught me again. And again, I promise this is the last time. And now you say again that I've said it all before, but I'm...
Jack Boyd is awake.
Jack Boyd? He opened his eyes? He can talk?
Talking? Yes. More like yelling, trying to escape from his room, brawling with the nurses.
Good heavens, he's a tough son of a bitch.
Jack! Lord, were you already discharged from the hospital? I thought you might be down a couple of days or even...
Emma, get me the mayor. Emma, please call the mayor of Freeburg, Stuart Rogers.
"3114. Connect. It's urgent."
This is Jack Boyd.
Jack, you've got to take better care of yourself. How's your...
I'm Freeburg's police chief. I came to work. Stop trying to get in my way.
Someone causing you trouble? We just wanted to make sure somebody was holding down the fort while you were recovering. But don't worry about a thing. I'll take care of everything tomorrow morning. You won't be running into Paulson again.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I'm glad we understand each other. Tell Martin Stett to call me.
What? You don't know? Lieutenant Stett went missing about 2 weeks ago.
Fuck my life.
I say,
suppose Freeburg's mayoral election is just a play with a predictable ending. But I'll take my place on the stage, if only to show them that the people will find a way to support those who want change, even in a city where everything is controlled by a corrupt mayor. The crooks can falsify the voting results, they can arrest us and beat us, but they cannot silence us. And today, for the first time in many years, we have a chance to make them fear us.
While acknowledging that he himself is the mysterious Robespierre, Eugene Chaffee has also promised that he will accept any punishment for the crimes committed by him and his supporters for minor offenses and street hooliganism. But, in his words, not before the city authorities are held responsible for the dead in our streets and the millions they've stolen. Eugene Chaffee went on to say that this is the worst time.
My God, Mr. Boyd, there's no tea in the whole house. We've looked everywhere. I could bring you a nice box of Japanese tea. I think you'd fall in love.
Let's get this over with. The people on the street are freezing by now.
Oh, yes, I do apologize for the ill-mannered crowd. A man in my position deals with a lot of unpleasantness.
Mr. Boyd, don't you wonder why Mayor Rogers so easily gave you your job back?
I promised the doctors I'd think less.
Funny. The people of this city are in the opposite situation. They've begun to use their heads for the first time in many years. They've learned to argue, but of course they can't agree on anything. Does Freeburg need change? Should the old guard give way to a new generation of politicians? Would I make a good mayor? Was Stuart Rogers a bad mayor? All these arguments reek of naivete, but let's be charitable. Many of them are allowing themselves to doubt for the first time. What's important is this. In times when the people cannot reach an accord, what they need is something to unite them. And one of those things is their undying love for their chief of police. People can support me or hate me, can defend Rogers or demand his resignation, but they remain sure of one thing. Their police chief is a saint. Their police chief won't let the city fall to chaos. And despite everything, the events of recent months have only improved your reputation, Mr. Boyd. The people have been touched by your recovery from that coma, your eagerness to return again and again to your post, to serve the city. And of course, Stuart Rogers, whose position is seriously shaken, wishes to take advantage of you.
Rogers understands that he won't survive this fight. He just wasn't prepared for it. So he's planned a major security operation. He intends to storm Eugene's house, burn everything to the ground so the pillar of smoke can be seen from anywhere in the city. He wants you to personally lead the assault. He'll tell the reporters that Eugene Chaffee was behind a series of terrorist attacks across the city. When he offered armed resistance during his arrest, Eugene was shot and killed.
What are you going to do about it?
What should I do? Respond in kind, of course.
What, you're going to storm City Hall?
Don't have the stomach for it, Mr. Boyd? You do understand what my gratitude would mean. Enough money to last you the rest of your life.
My job. I want to keep my job. Not 1 year, not 5 years, but until I decide it's time to leave.
I told you, Eugene, he's no longer interested in money.
Oh, I'll take the money, too. It'll be nice to get a bonus when you extend my contract.
You ask for too much, Mr. Boyd.
Oh, really?
I'll visit you in a few days, Mr. Boyd. Gather your strength. You forgot them in my car the last time we met.
Thanks, but I gave 'em up. Might add a few years to my life.
And one more thing. I wanted you to hear this from me, not the newspapers. Consider it a gift.
He's here.
Well, what are you waiting for? Jack, do you know how I managed to stay mayor for so long?
Oh, yeah, I know. Is that what you wanted to talk about?
No, Jack, it's not that. I've stayed in my position because at the very beginning of my career, I learned an important rule. If someone, anyone, friend or enemy, if they want something bad enough, you can hook them with it.
I know just what you mean.
What does Jack Boyd want? A good pension? Doubtful. $500,000. I think that whole nonsense is a myth. The others might think that you just want a paltry sum of money and you'll walk away. I think, no, I'm sure of it. You want what you've always wanted, to remain the chief of police, and only I can give that to you. You are to lead a special operation against Chaffee. I want your team to come down like a hammer on his stinking restaurant. I want you to personally be there and stand in front of the cameras. And I want this fairy shot during his arrest, 12 bullets at least. I want to see his mutilated body all over the airwaves. I expect a perfectly planned operation. And if you keep me happy, you'll keep your job for another 1.5 years. I think we have an agreement, huh?
Not 1.5 years, Mr. Rogers. For the rest of my life.
You think you can dictate terms, Jack?
Yeah. Because if someone wants something bad enough, you can hook them with it. I think we have an agreement.
Mr. Boyd, there's some armed men on the floor. Mr. Boyd, there's a lot of them.
I didn't catch that. Say again?
Excuse me, Mr. Boyd. It seems I accidentally frightened your secretary. Ah, they publish these stories in a book? My grandfather read me these stories from the old newspapers whenever I was ill. As a child, I was often ill, several times a year. And you know what, Mr. Boyd? You're no Bobby Flash.
I'm aware of that.
No. I mean it as a compliment. You want to clean up all the crime in Freeburg, right?
Or so I dreamed, once upon a time.
Do you know why you failed, Mr. Boyd? Do you know why Bobby Flash always wins? Because when you're surrounded by cartoon criminals, the only way to win is to become a cartoon cop. You're no cartoon, Mr. Boyd. You suffer too much. You have too many doubts, too much fear, too much internal conflict. Maybe that's why the people of this city forgive all your mistakes, because you seem like a real human being. If Bobby Flash made a mistake, we'd never forgive him. From Bobby Flash, we want cold, calculated perfection, and this is why I've decided that I don't mind if you keep your job.
What, have you abandoned your insane plan to storm the city hall?
You think it insane? To solve all my problems in a single stroke? Assuming, of course, that we're properly prepared.
Let's say we do burn City Hall to the ground and kill Rogers. What next? You simply walk into the smoke-filled room and take a seat in his smoldering chair?
No, Mr. Boyd. I've been preparing for a year for what happens next. I'll give the prosecutor's office an impressive folder with compromising evidence against Rogers. Information about how he suppressed his political adversaries, finally lost his mind, and plotted to rain blood on the streets of Freeburg. Of course, Troy Starr, faithful City Hall employee that he is, will easily confirm all this. At the same time, my dear Jordan will finally decide to break her silence and tell everyone how that fool Rogers threatened her, forced her to kill all the victims of his sexual violence to ensure their unpleasant stories would never come to light. Of course, everyone will understand that we didn't have time for formal complaints. The night before Mayor Rogers' private security detail would plunge the city into chaos, our valiant police chief Jack Boyd made the difficult decision to arrest the mayor of Freeburg. Unfortunately, Rogers descended into delusion and engaged in a shootout with the police, which ended in his death. We'll have to call an early election to replace the mayor, and of course, it won't be too difficult to win the election fairly.
And then?
You know, Mr. Boyd, most of the facts that I collected in Rogers' file are quite true. Anyone who reads through the mountain of evidence would have no doubt that this man was the most vile person in the world. Murderer, a rapist, thief, racist, sexist. Are you a sexist, Mr. Boyd?
I'm sorry?
Are you a sexist, Mr. Boyd? Or perhaps racist?
I try not to be.
That's it. I as well. Although I have long been known under a revolutionary pseudonym, I myself am no revolutionary. I believe in evolution. I am convinced that a city which offers such broad support for racist gangs, a city where people cheer as feminist protests are suppressed, a city which for decades has tolerated corrupt officials, I say this city has no interest in a mayor who unconditionally stands for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. Not yet. But perhaps they are ready for a mayor who tries to stand for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. At least when the situation allows it. That's why you're so popular, Mr. Boyd. The city is ready for people like you and me, for people who are ready to make compromises. I'm counting on you, Mr. Boyd.
And, when will they be ready?
I beg your pardon?
You said that the city isn't ready for a mayor who stands for freedom, equality, and the rule of law. When will they be ready? Who decides when they're ready?
I'll decide.
Jack Boyd, Freeburg Police Chief.
Jack, it's me. I'm so glad you're alive. Jack, look, I wanted to... Well, the situation is Laura left, Jack. She went out of town and she's not coming back. She said she didn't want to see the children. She says she doesn't want to hurt them. Well, I just thought that you needed to know.
It doesn't matter. It's too late. But thank you for calling, Mrs. Markham.
Look, Jack, I can't let things drop like that. I swear, I didn't have anything to do with that terrible attack. That day, Laura came to the restaurant, waited for you about an hour, and I was with her the whole time. You do believe me, right, Jack?
Frankly, I don't care, Mrs. Markham. I really don't. Take care of yourself.
Hey, Jack! Do you mind if I take Stet's office? Your office seemed a little ratty. No offense, Jack. Jack! I don't mind the broken nose, Jack. I know you were just upset. Hey, Jack, talk to me. Jack! Jack!
How can I help you, sir?
I just want to go in.
Excuse me, sir, only members are allowed into the club.
Don't I look like a member of the club?
I'm sorry, sir, but the club is not accepting new members at this time.
What are you, brand new here? I'm an old member of the club. I've been a member for 30 fucking years.
I'm sorry, sir, but I think you've made a mistake. Have a good evening.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,